As we wait on the weekend, we wonder whether the weather will give us a break from the cold, whether the strange February we've seen suggests a stormy spring, whether last night's flash freeze could have been forecasted. RTD's looking ahead, opening a new rail line that stands a decent chance of not being a disaster. We debate Denver's handling of suspects wanted for deportation now that it's in the national spotlight. We meet a man who works for the city far outside city limits. Your next question about paint taxes takes us into a crazy, colorful world. And a final bow for a ballerina who's danced in Denver for decades.
So it's time.
It's time for Next. Welcome to Next with Becky Ditchfield. Weather is all that anybody's talking about today, starting with when we're going to break out of the cold.
It's going to take a little bit, likely next week sometime, but this weekend we're going to be warming up just steadily. Middle 30s for highs, both Saturday, Sunday, upper 30s, partly cloudy skies. All that snow we saw from yesterday and even earlier today is gone.
Last night's rush hour just shut down with that flash freeze, and I've been hearing people say, could that have been predicted?
Yeah. I mean, we even got emails about it, too. It depends on the scenario. Yesterday was difficult because it all had to do with the timing of a heavy band of snow that moved through the Denver metro area from 2:30 in the afternoon till 4:30, basically brought us all of our snow for the entire event. As soon as it hit the warm ground, it melted. And that was about 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of water. And temperatures at that time were cold enough that then it froze at a time when there just wasn't a lot of cars on the road. Had that snow hit a little bit later, like during the rush hour, I'm not sure you and I are having the discussion
Yeah, so
today.
we knew it was a possibility. It just wasn't a probability, the kind of thing that we would have warned people about.
In the forecasting world, there just isn't a model that's high resolution enough to give us a pinpoint forecast for something like that.
You will also hear people say that because we've had such a dry, warm February that the weather is going to punish us. We're going to have a wet and stormy spring, like it's vengeful or something.
There's no karma thing going on with the weather. I don't necessarily trust a forecast that's 5 to 6 days out, much less tell you I can say with certainty what's going to happen this spring. So we're just going to have to wait and see. All
right, this has been Next with Becky Ditchfield. We now return you to your normal programming. Becky, thank you. So when the White House suggested it was going to crack down on legal recreational marijuana, the first person I called was Sam Kamen. He's a marijuana law and policy professor at DU, one of the nation's best-known experts on the subject. We sat down today after some of the dust had settled from the press secretary's announcement yesterday. What did you hear Sean Spicer say?
I mean, what I heard him say is that the administration sees a difference between medical and recreational marijuana.
You won't hurt my feelings, but are we making too much of a deal out of this?
It's so hard to know. I mean, this could just be a trial balloon. This could have been something he was asked and wasn't prepared for, or this could have been the administration announcing a new policy. You know, and the way things have been going in the first month, trying to figure out which of those it is really hard. If that was the announcement of policy, it was a big deal. So if you're a business person in this area, you're used to this. This might be a little scarier than what we've had in the past, but I haven't heard stories yet of people sort of jumping ship and saying, I'm out. I'm going to sell my interest and go away.
If the Trump administration were to initiate a crackdown on legalized recreational marijuana, what would that practically look like?
At the far extreme, you have the possibility of the Justice Department, the DEA, making arrests, prosecuting people, seizing assets. That would be incredibly confrontational, and you might think that in the early days of an administration in a purple state, that wouldn't be a big federal priority. But a lot of people have been wrong trying to figure out what this administration is up to.
Kamen also rightly pointed out the Colorado system has two unlikely defenders should the Justice Department decide to give us a call. Democratic Governor John Hickenlooper and Republican Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman both opposed legal recreational pot, but they've defended the way Colorado's system is set up. We expected that our report 1 week ago last night was going to spark some national conversation, and it has. The Denver sheriff only giving minutes notice to immigration officials before releasing a suspected gang member in this country illegally, a guy who's now charged with a murder. On Fox News, Bill O'Reilly said that Denver has blood on its hands. It certainly has a situation on its hands. We asked our political experts how it needs to be handled. Republican Kelly Maher and a visiting Democrat, former State House Speaker Mark Ferrandino.
Clearly, Michael Hancock needs to answer to this, and the fact that he is ducking people is going to eventually make it worse, first off. So from a PR standpoint, he needs to answer. Also, from a policy standpoint, all of these policies need to be looked at top to bottom. How criminals are released, what is the process, and if we get into a situation again where there's 25 minutes before a criminal is released that ICE is aware of it via fax, we're in a real big problem.
The city needs to continue to discuss and talk about why this policy is important. You only have to look at the mother who's sitting in the basement of a Unitarian church who is trying to better her life and her family's life and make sure that we're doing a policy that targets criminals at the same time is making sure we're making Denver and all this country welcoming to those people who are coming here to just make a better life for them and their family.
RTD had a big day today. Our line opened through Aurora, starts at Lincoln Avenue down Douglas County, runs up I-25 along 225 and ends at the Peoria station near I-70. Total of about 10.5 miles. And then at Peoria, that's where riders can connect with the A-line and call an Uber to get the rest of the way to the airport on time for their flight. That's mean. I should not have said that. You can ride the R-line for free until 9 p.m. tonight. On a normal day, the fare will be $2.60 to ride the length of the R-line. She was talking over me there. I didn't appreciate that. Jeffco Schools is now saying more about its decision to close a much-loved alternative high school. We first told you that the end was near for Longview Alternative High School in Lakewood last week. Now Jeffco School District officials are saying that it's an enrollment issue and graduation rates, plus the district's funding issues after voters rejected a ballot measure last fall. Right now, about 60 kids go to school at Longview, and in the fall, they're going to move over to McLean Community High School. It's less than half a mile away, but it is not the location that's at issue. The students and their parents are worried about being placed in a school environment 8 times larger than their last one.
Found Longview, I finally felt like I belonged at a school. This is a school of second chances, and we don't want to lose our little spot. I feel like that you can't put a price on people's happiness.
Longview students do have options. They'll have their own space dedicated to them inside the new school. They'll even have their own entrance. The goal is to make it less overwhelming for them to be in the larger school environment. And there are 4 other alternative high schools within Jeffco that are also options. A few parents had reached out to us this week and asked why the school district was working on new construction at Longview if they knew that it was just going to close. District told us today it didn't know that it was going to close when those projects got the green light. Just remember all the graffiti spray painted on a beautiful mural along the Cherry Creek Trail? Well, the artist hopes that you will forget it. Nigel Penhale spent the weekend painting over a tag on his mural. We met him a couple weeks back after that vandalism. Still has a few spots to touch up. Hopes to get it done in the next couple of days, and the city's going to come in and put a protective coat over his work. Our next question comes from Jude. Do you realize there's a 75-cent fee charged for every gallon of paint sold? Yep. 35 cents for a half pint, 75 cents for a gallon, $1.60 for up to 5 gallons. It's a law that went into effect 2 years ago to help get more paint recycled.
In the past, before Paint Care, you had to pay to get rid of your paint. Now the fee is charged when you buy paint, and it's free to get rid of at the end of life.
25 locations in the metro area will accept your paint for free, so long as their bins aren't completely full. Jude also wrote to us, none of them will take the empty cans and recycle them.
Our program is a paint recycling program. We're not a can recycling program. That's the way I like to explain it. So as long as there's some kind of paint in the can, we take the paint, we recycle it, and then we recycle the cans as well as much as possible.
It's kind of mesmerizing to watch. Jude also asked how much revenue the new taxes raised. Very good question. So we only have numbers from the first 6 months, but it brought in $3.4 million. Some of that obviously goes to administrative costs. The bulk gets recycled back into the program, so to speak. We'll send off the work week celebrating people who love their jobs. The Ballerina preparing for a final performance after decades in Denver. The professor teaching on the same campus longer than many of us have been alive. And the City of Denver employee whose job is anything but urban.
It's one of the most viewed bison herds in the world.
You've passed his workplace a bunch of times. We'll take you there. Next.
The most Colorado thing we saw today was just a bit up I-70. The city of Denver getting ready to auction off some of its bison herd like they often do. That brought us to the I-70 bison herd and the man with the most Colorado job we've seen so far.
I'm the operations supervisor for the Denver Mountain Parks Department.
Matt Brown has one of the only City of Denver jobs where he needs not set foot in the City of Denver.
I oversee with my crew 14,141 acres. As far west as Echo Lake, as far south as Daniels Park.
14,000 acres with a home base here at the largest Denver park, Genesee Mountain Park.
I live in the second oldest house that the city owns. It's called the Patrick House.
Yes, Matt and his family live here in a house that was originally a homestead, the oldest continuously occupied ranch home in Jefferson County.
There's been stories from previous caretakers saying that it's haunted. I've never seen anything, you know, weird.
He has to live here.
You know, you can get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, somebody hit the fence. You know, it's time to go.
If he doesn't fix the fence, these guys might end up on the road. Matt says that's never happened. In fact, he says taking care of Denver's bison herd is the best part of his job.
Back in 1914, the first 2 bison came from City Park Zoo, and then they brought bison in from the last wild Yellowstone herd.
Denver was trying to help conserve a declining bison population at the time.
And they also wanted to, you know, preserve a piece of the American Wild West.
You could see that piece of the old American West from your passenger window on your way up to your next ski trip. And now you know who helps keep it up.
You know, I've always told myself, you know, you find the right job, you never have to work a day in life, so.
The city auctions off bison calves to help keep the herd at a reasonable size. There are 31 bison in that herd right now. Matt, by the way, has worked for the city for 17 years, and he used to be the caretaker of the herd down at Daniels Park. So he's had a fascinating career.
Exactly, exactly. And we asked you around the next office today, do they name the bison?
They name the bison that are in the herd that remains there. I didn't have the heart to ask him whether they named the bison.
This is a very diplomatic way to put it, knowing that some of these bison are going on to other adventures.
Yes, adventures. That's a good way to put it.
All right, Steve, thank you. A smart Next viewer asked us to add a note to a story earlier this week about where we can respectfully retire our old American flags. Adams County DMVs are adding flag recycling boxes at each location. We told you that VFW Post will take them. A viewer noted that Boy Scout troops will also properly dispose of a flag that's no longer in any shape to keep flying. It's a sign. And it's a short one. It is a very short sign. Martha Clayton found this in Westminster near 104th and Federal. Tweeted us with the hashtag #HeyNext. Her caption was a good one. In case the Rockies need a new shortstop. Oh, Martha, you got jokes. We wish we had an answer as to why there is this tiny little bitty stop sign, but we don't know. Don't have it for you. See a sign? Send us a sign. Email next@9news.com.
It's not like my real job, it's my passion.
The passion remains as she prepares for a last dance. This was our favorite piece of viewer mail ever until a package showed up at 9 News today. And we end the week with an escape from the headlines. You pick the news, so long as it's good. Next. You may never have heard this next woman speak, even though she has been a fixture in Denver for the past 21 years. Colorado Ballet's Maria Messina moved to the United States from Russia and has spent most of that time here in Denver. This weekend is the ballerina's last big performance with the company. Photojournalist Ann Herbst talked with Maria about her life in and out of ballet.
I always had a need to move, to express myself through the movement, through the dance. Even now, when I hear some music, it doesn't matter classical or pop, I'm starting to move around all the time. So I start to prepare myself as a professional dancer when I was 10 years old. And I knew that I'll be a professional dancer since then. And it looks like the audience for past 21 years loved what I did and still doing. I'm glad that they loved it, the audience, the community loved it. I hope that I'm a good mom for my daughter. It's also a very important part of my life, that I'm a normal mom and I have a beautiful daughter that I'm trying to give her everything that I can. Every night when I, ready to go to the bed, and I was like, God, I'm so lucky that I still able to do what I'm passionate about it, to be able to do what you love to do most in your life.
Maria's last performances at the Ellie Calkins Opera House are this weekend. There are still a few tickets left. Big next shout out tonight to a man who's been on 9 News many times over the years. Ved Nanda, who teaches international law at the University of Denver, is celebrating his 50th year of teaching at DU this week. Nanda created the law school's International Legal Studies program in 1972. There's an entire Ved Nanda Center for International and Comparative Law at DU, so when they put your name on something, it's a pretty big deal, unless it's just a stupid TV show. He says what keeps him in the teaching game is the chance to continually build new relationships with his students. There's a big celebration for Professor Nanda tomorrow at DU in celebration of his half-century there. May I make a recommendation? Point you towards something that didn't come from us, but is certainly worth your time. Our producer, Carrie Lear, is fascinated by a USA Today article about former Olympic facilities that are crumbling in Rio just 6 months after the Olympics there. This is an opinion piece from sports columnist Nancy Armour. She talks about how a lot of the venues are already abandoned, already falling apart. The article discusses Olympic Park as well, and that is not being used at this point. She talks about Brazil's economy, who is responsible for cleaning up the mess that sits in that city following the Olympics. You can find a link to the article in the next section on 9news.com. We will be sharing your good news and a viewer's sweet rebuttal to this not-so-sweet note from yesterday. Next. It's Friday. We'll never leave you feeling like the world has crumbled around you this week. We always go looking for good news, your good news. Today, 9 News photojournalist Tom Cole took his camera to Denver's 5 Points neighborhood.
My good news for today is... My good news is I'm alive and I'm well and I'm working and I'm relatively happy.
We're about to go get a mean breakfast sandwich from a Jewish deli, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm foaming at the mouth.
My 3 kids were born and raised pretty much in Colorado, and they are exceptional kids. I'm very proud of them, and they're moving on up.
This is my buddy James here, and you know, he just jogs.
It's wonderful to be alive. It's wonderful to be in Colorado too.
I'm enjoying the day. I'm walking around. It's nice.
And he's really an inspiration to me. We're both disabled vets, but he's getting me kind of fired up again. I let the fire die in my life, and the good news is it's coming back.
I'm gonna do my taxes and get a car and get a place to live. That's my good news.
Just keep living, brother, and just try to be happy regardless of whatever's going on.
We're smiling. That's hard to come by sometimes in this world.
How about that? Think back on your week. If your good news was nothing more than a smile, was for that gentleman there. So do you remember this sweet little piece of viewer feedback yesterday? A colorful card with an equally colorful message inside. Oh, I'm sorry, Lawrence. I hosed you on that. That is totally me. That is not you, brother. Well, a viewer named Mel saw this, and Mel decided that we could use a little cake today, like an actual honest-to-goodness cake that says, awesome, can't wait to see what's next. Mel's card said, don't let the jerks get you down. Mel knows one of the secrets of life, which is the fact that cake helps. Cake always helps. Note just in from Dan Rada, who says, 72-year-old man, 4th-generation Colorado native, enjoy the show. Not all us old guys are resistant to new approaches. We welcome everybody, young and old, and we'll see you next time.